going on, guys? John here, the PB Fit, and today we're going to be talking about the Shocker amp. Now, the Shocker amp has probably been one of the most requested markers that I've had in a really long time. As you guys know, I'm a huge Shocker paintball fan. Use the RSX, use the XLS, but haven't gotten a chance to own this yet. Thankfully, my buddy on the Ryukyu Kings, Aaron, let me use his personal Shocker for this review, and I really appreciate it. Now, before I fully get into this review, I want to do a quick shout out to my sponsors.
To absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in. The Shocker amp is $900, or like $899.95. With that being said, it's a mid-high range marker. This is a super competitive bracket of markers. You have the DSR Plus, you've got the 170R, and you've got the Shocker amp. Now, Shocker Paintball has made a ton of improvements with the amp, and it's a super popular marker. As you can tell, the milling has changed a little bit on the amp, but it still has kept its super clean looks. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the amp, and we'll start from the bottom to the top and hit all the key features of this marker. The case that this marker comes with is just like any other Shocker case. It has space for your barrels, it has little pouches, little things for your stuff, but they didn't really do much to improve the case. I mean, and honestly, the case was good enough. The case holds your stuff. Now at the bottom you have the ASA. The ASA is a hoseless, which is pretty much standard now. ASA, it's a gas-through grip, but it still has a twist knob. Now I was hoping to see like a lever action ASA on there, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. This ASA still does the job really well, super easy to twist on and off. Shouldn't be a problem for anyone out there as far as airing up and degassing their marker. Now one thing I really like that they did with this marker is change up the grips. I really like the XLS grips, but man, I love the amp grips. The palm swell, the grooves for the fingers, man, it feels great in the hands. Now when it comes to the foregrip, it leaves a little bit to be desired. The foregrip is skinny. I have pretty big hands though. Maybe guys with average hands or small hands, this foregrip shouldn't really be a problem, but a dude with big gorilla hands like myself, it's a little small. So I would like to have seen something a little bit different there. I really liked the old Shocker's foregrip. Granted, I always put a grip over the top of it anyway, but I think that HK Army kind of fixed that a little bit with the redesign of the HK Army Shocker amp. It's a little bit bigger, it looks like. So I think that for me personally, I would like that better, but still, it still feels great in the hands. You know, you could always put something else on there to make it thicker, wrap it with some tape or whatnot to improve that. Now when it comes to the trigger, the stock trigger on this thing, I don't know if it was just set weird or whatever, but we tried everything to make it feel better. I personally did not like the stock trigger at all. It felt small, stiff. It was just not a nice trigger. Granted, a lot of us are ramping nowadays, triggers don't matter, but my buddy Aaron went ahead and upgraded his trigger to this Deuce trigger here, and man, it's like night and day. So I do see a lot of people upgrading their triggers, whether it be the Infamous trigger or the Staunchy trigger, or whatever's out there to get a better trigger on this thing. I think that's one thing that with the next iteration of the Shocker amp or whatever it's gonna be, what I think they should do with the next iteration of the Shocker is to make that trigger a little bit better. It was definitely not super great. However, they did a great job with the trigger guard. Lots of room for your fingers, lots of room when you're holding the foregrip. You're not rubbing your hands up against anything, cutting up your hands. So I think they did a really great job as far as the design of the trigger guard and everything like that. Now the board of this marker is the same board you're gonna get with the RSX, the XLS. It is the exact same thing, which means super reliable, easy to program. Don't fix it if it's not broken, right? So there's no need for them to change this board or anything. It keeps costs down. They probably have billions of these boards, but honestly, there's no need to change it. This board is freaking awesome. Now when we look at this barrel, it's a standard Freak XL, okay? It's a 3-piece barrel, comes with a 687 back. It's exactly what you'll need for paintball nowadays. Freak system has been around forever, okay? Like, this is one of the most iconic and best barrel systems you can get nowadays, and it comes standard with the Shocker amp. So I think that's great. You can get a ton of backs for not a lot of money, and really I think that the 687 is a great back. Whether your paint's small or your paint's big, I think it's right there. It's a happy medium. Now taking out the engine of this marker is super easy. All you have to do is twist it to the left and remove it. Then when you put it back in, twist it to the right a little bit, and it locks back in. Super awesome system. I like that they went with this because on my Shocker XLS and my RSX, I had the back pop out a couple times when I was playing with it. Even Aaron's XLS, the same thing, the back popped out when I was playing. But the great thing about this is that is not going to happen. If you take a look at this system, it is secure. Like, this is a great feature that they added to this marker, and it's really easy to take out. I really, really like it. And the eyes themselves are just your basic eyes. Nothing crazy here, but it does the job. I think that they should have moved away from the screws and went to a latch system personally, but I do love that they have the sprung Delrin detents. There's nothing better out there than sprung Delrin detents. You guys know my disdain for those little rubber Planet Eclipse detents. I hope that one day we never have to change one of those out ever again, and we could just use Delrin detents. And the feed neck is your throwback, old school Q-lock feed neck. Honestly, it's a Q-lock feed neck, looks a little bit different. It's nice milling, and it has a thumb wheel. Super easy if you're changing out hoppers and everything like that, because now if you're playing speedball, you might be using your Spire, right? But if you change to mech, which this thing can go into mech, which is awesome if you have a different grip frame. Unfortunately, I don't have the mech frame for the AMP, but if you're switching to mech, you're probably gonna wanna use a force-fed hopper like a rotor, maybe a little bit different. So you want a feed neck that's easy to switch out hoppers, and this definitely does that. All right, now that we went over those key features, let's go ahead and do some basic maintenance on this thing. And by basic maintenance, I mean the core of this marker and basic regulator maintenance. If you're gonna own a paintball marker, you're gonna wanna know how to do these things to keep your gun from being sent in to get fixed over and over and over again. Like anything that you care about, like your car or whatever, regular maintenance is important for the longevity of this marker. Now, like I said earlier, to take the engine out of this marker, you want to go ahead and twist to the left and pull out the engine. Now, when you look at this thing, yes, it looks just like every Gamma core you've ever seen, right? But the difference between this marker and the 170R, its competitor, is that this runs at 110 PSI. Now the 170R runs at 135 PSI. The difference there is this runs at the same PSI as the CS2, which has a Gamma Core Pro. So essentially, this bad boy has a Gamma Core Pro in it. Yes, that's right, it's basically a CS2 internally, okay, which is freaking awesome, dude. This is a $900 gun. When you go and take apart this bolt, it's pretty simple. Now the first thing you're doing is you're gonna screw off the top portion of the can, and you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna push the bolt through the back of the can. You can go ahead and set those off to the side. And I'm gonna go to unscrew the back can, and I'm going to remove the bolt guide. And there's a little top portion that's on there on the back can as well, and you can go ahead and stick your finger through the back and you can push that part off. It's not screwed on, it's just kind of snapped on there. And then you're gonna take the bolt guide and you're going to use it to remove the back, the very, very back portion that's in the back cap of the marker where the spring is. Because there's some O-rings in there you're going to want to make sure are cleaned and maintained. Because what's going to happen is if you don't make sure that those O-rings are lubed up, what's going to happen is they're going to dry out, right? Granted, it's not a part of the marker that's going to move or anything like that, but still, dirt gets in there, everything gets in there. You're going to want to make sure it's taken care of. So go ahead and remove that too. You can use the back of it to remove it. Now, once you got all your pieces out, it's pretty simple. You're just going to start wiping everything down, removing all of the old lube, and you're going to slowly start to lube each piece wherever there's an O-ring. Okay, so wherever you see an O-ring, you're going to want to put a little bit of lube on it. And that's with any paintball marker. Even if it's an O-ring that is not one that moves. Okay, because like I said, they will eventually dry out, crack, and all that stuff, and they'll need to be replaced. So when you get done lubing everything, that's when you start to put everything back together essentially in reverse. So that back portion you removed out with the spring, go ahead and put that back in there and then use the bolt guide to press it in. Okay, really simple. Just make sure that when you're putting the bolt guide on that spring that you're not going to bend the spring or anything like that. There's a hole in the back of it, the spring can go right in, super easy. From there, you're going to take the top part of the back can and put it on, snap it back on there, just make sure it's nice and secure. And then you're going to take the bolt guide, put it over the spring, and then screw in that back can. From there, you're going to go ahead and take your bolt, push it through the top can, and screw the top can on the bottom can. Like me, like if you're touching all the O-rings and everything, you can always re-lube those outer O-rings if you feel like you've taken all the lube off. Essentially, you've lubed up the entire engine of this amp. Now, when it comes to the regulator, I only do basic regulator maintenance. And if you want to do further maintenance, you can go ahead and check out Shocker Paintball's YouTube in the description. Craig over at Shocker Paintball, who made these videos, he is a master tech, okay? He knows how to break these things apart into a million pieces, put them back together, and they're going to work better than when you gave it to him. Now, when you do maintenance on this regulator, you're not going to use the Allen key that you use to adjust the regulator. You have to use the second largest Allen key to go ahead and unscrew the reg base. So you're going to unscrew it and take it out. You can go ahead and try and whack the reg on your hand like I'm doing to go ahead and get the piston out. Now this piston has two springs on it. It has like a bottom and a top spring. Okay, so there's a top spring, that's the big boy, all right? He's sitting on the top because he's a king. Then you got the piston, then you got the baby spring that's kind of like stuck in the piston. So you have to remove that to get to an O-ring to add some lube, okay? So you remove that spring, so you got two springs, you got the piston, then you got the piston, I'm gonna call it the cap or seat. But once again, any O-ring that you see that needs lube, go ahead and put some lube on there. Because if you don't lube it up, it can dry out, especially with the regulator, you don't want anything leaking or any sort of inconsistency there, because what's gonna happen is, it's gonna affect the overall performance of your marker. Okay, the reg is an extremely important part that doesn't get maintained nearly enough. Like you don't need to maintain it a lot, maybe every 25 to 50 cases, but still, I believe that it's under-maintained. Okay, the regulator is one of the most under-maintained. The regulator is one of the most under-maintained items in a paintball gun ever. Most people just take care of the bolt, they put their gun back together. Bolt back together, and that's all they do. So take care of your regulator. So to put everything back together again, you're gonna go ahead and put the large spring at the top of the piston, then the little spring stuffs back into the bottom of the piston, and you're gonna go ahead and put it back up into the foregrip. And once you get that, you're gonna take the reg seat, and you're gonna push it in, you're gonna feel a little bit of pressure because it is like spring loaded essentially, and you're gonna go ahead and screw it in. Maintenance on this thing is pretty freaking easy, okay? But like I said, if you want some real in-depth maintenance on your Shocker amp, if you want some real, like I said, if you want some real in-depth maintenance on your Shocker amp, go ahead and go to Shocker Paintball's YouTube channel and check out those. They put a lot of thought into this marker, okay? And if you look at Shocker, they've improved each platform significantly every single year. So you know this is better than the XLS. You know this is better than the RSX. Okay, it feels great in the hands. It's still a long marker, so it allows you to get a lot of reach, allows you to feel full control of the marker. It's lightweight, which was my favorite thing about this marker, which is why I'm probably gonna buy one myself, especially when I get back to the States, plan on playing mech. I'm at a disadvantage if I don't own one of these. It shoots amazing, feels great in the hands, super lightweight, operates at a super low PSI, incredibly reliable, has an amazing barrel system out the box, super nice feed neck, easy to maintain, easy to program board. The only thing that I would change is a trigger it comes with. Trigger it comes with is not great, which is why you see everybody upgrading their trigger. Usually I say don't upgrade anything, but from this trigger to the stock trigger, it's night and day, not the same at all. The foregrip is a little too skinny, needs to be bigger, which is why I think HK Army changed it up a little bit. I think that the next iteration of the Shocker needs to have a bigger foregrip and maybe some eyes that weren't screw in. Other than that, I think it's a great marker. But if you're looking at like, hey, I'm wanting to play tournaments and I really want something that's going to be able to keep up and I can grow into, right? Let's say you're just getting into paintball, maybe you're a little younger, whatever. I want something I could grow into. This is it. Okay, it's not a mini. Trust me, you're gonna be done with the mini real fast. I can promise you. Everybody who's owned a mini that I know has moved on. Save your money, get something like this. I think the mini's great for little kids, but if you're getting into some serious tournament paintball, or you're looking for something that's like a TM40, that's like a CS2, that's like, you know, those super high-end markers, but you don't want to pay a high-end price, this is it right here. So that's all I have about the Shocker amp, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope the maintenance helped you guys out a little bit, and I'll be sure to come up with more videos soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notifications, turn on your computer and have them automatically play my videos all night long so I can get more views And also,
CBA, never say I've been on my grind for 7 days. Need a race, swear to God I'll never be the same. TBH, TBH, yeah.